to tell the story right now, the Easter story of a fine young gentleman, a friend of mine, a fine young gentleman. This fine young gentleman, this fine young chap, liked to smoke marijuana sometimes. Started about the age of 17, 18. Uh, he never liked alcohol. He never liked pills. Um, he liked marijuana. Marijuana, let's talk about it for a second. One of the most harmless substances on the planet, a million times less dangerous than alcohol. So that's the context. No matter what you've been told, no matter what you've been brainwashed to think, no one overdoses on marijuana. So, again, this fine young gentleman enjoyed marijuana sometimes. He enjoyed working out, playing guitar, surfing, stuff like that. Never got into the hard drugs, the cocaine, the crack, the meth, the heroin, opioids, strong opioids. Never got into any of that stuff, and especially not alcohol. Rather despised it, actually, the way it made him feel, what it did to other people. Um, so, because this fine young gentleman smoked marijuana and enjoyed it, society stigmatized him, looked down upon him. Family members, family members, mother, father, stepfather, um, grandparents, uncles, aunts, they all enjoyed their wine or beer or hard liquor. Some of them were straight up alcoholics. Some of them were functioning alcoholics. So you get my drift. No problem with the alcohol. That's perfectly acceptable. There was no stigma there. But for people that smoke marijuana and that enjoy that, society, family members, again, you're stigmatized as you're told you're doing something wrong by society, a society that sells alcohol by the gallons, millions of gallons a day, and consumes millions of gallons a day, I'm sure. And that's, it's pretty much been like that, and it's still like that for some people and in some places. It's highly stigmatized, and you're told by, your local police officer or your teacher or your family member who's while they're drinking a beer that, those hippie potheads, marijuana's bad. They shouldn't be smoking that stuff. Uh, chug, 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 chug. So, yes, the fine young gentleman was stigmatized. A lot of other people, even up until today, who enjoy marijuana are stigmatized as if they're doing something wrong or evil. They're stigmatized by people that drink. Uh, Irony. But then something happened to this fine young gentleman. He got he talked to somebody and he found out that he could get a medical marijuana card and get marijuana legally and not have to worry about if he has it in his car and he gets stopped, that the police will fuck with him. He can just show the card. Hey, it's medicine, man. It's medicine, Ossifer. It's medicine that I need. That's his life. That's what he needs. That's his medicine, not pills, not booze, not anxiety, mood stabilizers, mood altering anxiety drugs. Um, that's his medicine. So he set about to make that happen. because he had legit conditions that he could go in there with, documentation, etc. So he walked into a marijuana doctor's office one day, and the gentleman at the desk explained to him the criteria that you can't just walk in and say, I have this, and this, and get handed a medical marijuana card. That's not how it works. Do you have documents, a documentation of a condition? Have you gone to a psychiatrist and been diagnosed, depression, anxiety, PTSD? Do you have some paperwork? Did you get in a car accident and you're on opioids and you want to get off opioids because they're highly addictive and fucking dangerous? Yeah, they work though, but they're highly addictive and dangerous. When you get to the point where you have to come off the opioids, that's not a fun time, and it could turn into a lifelong addiction, possibly. Everyone knows this. No one's a babe in the woods at this point. So doctors ain't to blame. If you take the pill, you have to deal with the consequences of taking that pill, the come down when it's time to get off it. Can you handle that? Not everyone can, obviously. There wouldn't be an epidemic. Anyway, I don't even know where I was going with that. I forget. So, oh, okay. Did you get hurt in an accident recently or in your past where you're on opioids for years or months? Can you go in the doctor with that? That request. Hey, I've got documentation. I was in an accident. Doctor prescribed me opioids. I've been on them for 3 months. I want to get off them. I'd rather be on marijuana. I think that's a better option, less dangerous, safer option for me. He explained that, you can't just go in there bullshitting. You got to have a legit reason to be there. And it strongly helps your case if you have documentation. So my friend, he had some documentation and he brought it in there. And what they did is they scheduled him an appointment a few days after he went there the first time. And he showed up. He had to fill out some paperwork. He went to the back to see the doctor. And the doctor heard what he had to say and looked at the documents, and he said, go out to the front desk and you can go get your information into the system. So here's what happens after your information is in the system. Now you can immediately buy marijuana, edible marijuana, topical marijuana, every kind of marijuana you can fucking think of and type of marijuana products. And they ask you questions like, do you need topical? Do you need edibles? Do you need this? Should we leave you open for that? Blah, 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 blah. Flour, of course, is available immediately. You don't have to wait till the card is sent to you. The card comes within weeks. So what you're really doing is you're entering yourself into a registry. That's what this gentleman did. And so now you're recognized by the state. Now there's a state fee of, I believe, he said $75. And there's a doctor's fee, and it's good for 7 months, of $200. So you're talking $275 out the door. Now you can buy marijuana for your condition, for your legitimate mental, physical, whatever condition. Some of the conditions that qualify: PTSD, anxiety, depression, pain, shit like that, and other things. I believe there's epilepsy type stuff in there as well. You qualify. Where was I? Card comes in a few weeks. The fees, the $275. So you also don't have to worry about, when police stop you, they find your little container of weed. It's going to have your name on it. It's going to have, that it's medical. It's going to have the container from a legitimate dispensary. That's where you got to go to get the stuff. That's a thing I forgot to tell. Part of the story I forgot to tell. Um, the doctor can't be, you can't have a dispensary with the doctor inside the dispensary just rubber stamping people. So you have to split the two businesses. You can't, the doctor has to be in one location, the dispensary has to be in another location. Hello, I can't read that name. S- Steele? I'm sorry, I can't read that. My eyes ain't so good lately. So after you're 275, again, you don't have to worry about police officers. You can just show them the medical card and be like, this is my medicine. You don't have to worry about going to jail. It's good for 7 months. There are other places I was told that are a little cheaper than $200, but they don't approve you for as many months. You might get 3 months or two or something. I can't remember what the breakdown was. So yeah, the 200's kind of steep, but you get 7 months out of it, which is pretty good. Anyway, so he's astounded by all this because his whole life he's wasted he's wasted a percentage of his life on fucking weed dealers, meeting this person, waiting for that person. You know what it's like. You've done it. A lot of you, I'm sure. Uh, you got to deal with inconsistent, irresponsible people that see you as a nuisance sometimes. And other times they're calling you when they need something, money, uh, you know, letting you know what's up. So yeah, he's wasted. He can't even count how many times he's waited on someone for that stuff and the lengths he went to get it. I'm not saying it ruined his life or anything. I'm just saying it was a waste of fucking time. So he thought to himself, this was just such an exciting thing. He thought to himself, wow, I don't got to deal with like shady weed dealers and meet this guy here. And this guy's wife can't find out that he sells like 8 ounces a week of weed. You know what I mean? Like super paranoid dudes. Uh, he doesn't have to worry about any of that bullshit wasting his time. He can walk in a store and buy a quantity of marijuana. A store, like you would go buy some chicken at the grocery store. All you have to do is be of age, of course, and be in the state registry as a registered medical marijuana person. So the first he of course he goes right to the dispensary that's a few stores away and ends up he was in such shock and awe that even though he needed this kind of weed, he bought the wrong kind of weed. That's how out of it he was. That's how in shock, in total awe he was. Like, it's kind of like the gates of heaven opening up, and you hear that voice that like, oh, like that heavenly. I can't do it as well as the angels can or the choir people can, but you hear that noise, you're just so enraptured by it all, by the wonderfulness of it all. So yeah, he was so excited. He bought a bunch of the wrong stuff. He needed sativa. He bought indica. Now, allegedly, or not allegedly, indica, some people say, and it does seem to be that way, it's more of a downer. It's more of a dopey, kind of sleepy downer high. Sativa is more of an energetic, uplifting, more physical high. Much better, in my opinion, but whatever. Again, he was in such shock. He bought a quarter of indica when he knew he needed the other shit. So he gave that to some people, he said, and went back to another dispensary. And then he got the right stuff. A sativa with 3.66 T. And now it's such a strange feeling for him. Because again, the stigma his whole life, the judgment, Now it's medicine, and he can show a card, and it's legitimate, and it's legal. And he's just still in shock and awe that anytime he wants, he can just go to the store and buy the best marijuana available on the planet that suits his needs. It's an astonishing feeling. He conveyed this to me. He's still not over it yet. He's still kind of in shock about it. But it seems to be a good thing, but you got to be careful when you have easy access like that, not to overdo it. So it's a fine line you got to walk. You got to be able to ration that shit properly so you're not, blitzed out of your mind all day. It's a fine tightrope that this fine young gentleman has to walk. But it's an amazing one. And it's a safe one in a lot of ways, legally. So people can still stigmatize that stuff if they want to. But this fine young gentleman, he has his card now. So he's all right. That's my Easter story. Happy Easter to everyone.